Good morning, and thank you for joining us for today's seminar, Industry 4.0. It's not just about industry, which has been sponsored by PNC Bank and is being presented by the European American Chamber of Commerce of Greater Cincinnati, which is where Europeans and Americans connect to do business. Now, many of you may have joined us for previous Eacc webinars, but we've organized this event as a Zoom meeting in order to utilize the breakout rooms function of Zoom, so that you can connect to and share your thoughts with other attendees. I will welcome your feedback on the utility of that segment of the program, and I'll ask for your patience should we experience any technical challenges. Now, we have over 70 people registered for today's event, so I'm sure that we're going to have a very vibrant discussion. One quick disclaimer, please note that all comments and opinions presented by our speakers are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of the EACC or its members. Before we get into the program then, let me offer our thanks to PNC Bank for their sponsorship of today's event. And I would like to ask now Kay Geiger, who's the regional president of PNC Bank, to offer brief welcoming remarks. Kay.
Thank you, Todd. And thank you so much to everyone that joined this morning. I think today's topic, it's not just industry, and Industry 4.0 really speaks to what the European American Chamber has done, not only before this past year, but in general, you have been one of the greatest conveners in a global sense that we can come together, not only regionally, but across the U.S. and across the world with our companies. We respect so much what we can do together. PNC has been a long supporter and will continue to be, but we recently announced the proposed merger of BBVA USA. Together, we hope that you will know that your companies, while they are global and they are of European headquarters in the most sense, that you will know that we can service you now entire coast to coast with that acquisition. And through that, we want to also say thank you, Todd, and to all of you that will be speaking today, because this is a pivotal moment that I know will be probably one of the things we will look back on and say, what is the difference from yesterday to today? And I think it's the relationships that will never change. So we thank you for the relationships. We thank you for the European American Chamber and all that we can do together. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kay. And again, we appreciate your support and your kind words. So let me set the stage a minute just before I hand this over to our program moderator, Joe Daner. Industry 4.0 is one of those buzzwords that we hear, but perhaps don't fully understand. The implication of the term is that the industrial revolution we are currently experiencing will be as world-changing as the introduction of the steam engine, electrification in the assembly line, and computerization, which are considered the first three industrial revolutions, respectively. This fourth industrial revolution has many facets and known by many names: big data, artificial intelligence, smart sensors, machine learning, and so on. But at its heart, it's really about building intelligent connections between systems, vertically and horizontally, within and across organizations. And just like electrification changed every aspect of how we live, from how we power machines to what we eat, Industry 4.0 is not just disrupting manufacturing and logistics, but also sectors like banking, finance, law, education, and even how those various sectors connect with and interact with each other. So hopefully you'll leave this discussion with a deeper understanding of how these vertical and horizontal connections between systems and across sectors can and will improve how we do business. And so with that, let me introduce Joe Daner. Joe is a past president and one of the founding fathers of the EACC. More relevant to this discussion, Joe is counsel with Frost Brown Todd, with vast experience in global business and emerging technologies. He is also an accomplished and acknowledged expert in data privacy and security, which is another fascinating aspect of this discussion, and of course, probably a topic for a separate seminar. Joe, why don't you go ahead and take it from here?
Well, thank you, Todd, and thanks everybody for joining. See a lot of friends with us. I just want to introduce four great presenters we're going to have today, and then I'll call on them one at a time. Antonio Pagano is president and the CEO of Modular USA. He's a member of the Eacc Board of Directors of Greater Cincinnati. Modular is an Italian-based designer and manufacturer of automatic vertical warehouses with applications in any industrial sector or environment. Buongiorno, Antonio. Jessica Kennedy and Scott Erickson are both vice presidents and treasury management officers at PNC Financial Services Group here in Cincinnati. And welcome to both of you this morning. They'll have a PowerPoint to share with us. And then Gonzalo Arguelles is Industrial Projects Director for Eacc. Now, this is a Spanish-based manufacturer of paper products, and he's here in Cincinnati leading Eacc's effort to build a new 350,000 square foot manufacturing facility in Hamilton, Ohio. Buenos dias, Gonzalo. So with that, let's turn to you, Antonio, if you'll be sure to unmute yourself. Welcome this morning. We're going to have a brief conversation. So Antonio, here's my question to you. What part of Industry 4.0, as Todd has said, it's not just one thing. It's not just digitization, it's a variety of things. So what concept of 4.0 would you say is mostly used by Modular as an organization?
Well, first of all, good morning, everybody, and thanks, Joe, for the question. Well, I would say the straightforward answer is big data and a smart factory. Our production is fully automated, but the process we have since when we present the product to our clients and we perform a quotation, to when the quotation turns in an order, to when the order goes in our ERP, to when the physical product is being manufactured, until the final shipment is all controlled in a step-by-step process. So our production is fully vertically integrated and is fully in-house. So we start from, our product is pretty simple. You have to imagine is a kind of a giant vending machine. So it's a vertical storage where you call the item, the elevator is moving to pick up the tray is delivering outside, and the final user can pick whatever they need from this tray. So, there are controls, there is automation, but the overall product is entirely made with steel. So we do manufacture everything starting from metal sheets, and going to a punching bending process, going to a welding process, going to mechanical assembly and electrical connection, and then wrapping, packing, and shipping to the final customer. Each one of these processes that use automated machineries, that use robotic cells, that use a system to control the status, every single of these steps is controlled. We scan with a barcode every single step, so that in the operation department, we can see in real time the product that is being built and when it's ready to be shipped to the final customer. So this will give us a full control, because we don't produce to put on stock, we produce made on order. So,
and of course, it orders for a customer, and without customers, there's no business. So let me ask you this: how the final product of Modular, how is it able to meet 4.0 concepts for the interconnectivity with customers? Because a lot of what 4.0 is really about is the interconnectedness of things. So
absolutely.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah, well, our product, as I said, is a very smart product because it allows you to, save space and optimize your intralogistic, but gives you the possibility to control the whole inventory you have in our machine. Now, the next step is how you're going to be able to control this machine and plug our product into our Industry 4.0 environment. So we do have a product which is called Modular Cloud, which basically allows you from wherever you are, at your home, in holidays, or maybe in your office, to see in real time the machine when it works. If for some reason it's down for some mechanical issues, if it's doing many operations today, much more than the day before, if there is any maintenance required. So it gives you a whole control of the equipment itself, and is able also to give you very interesting statistics and data that are important for you to fine-tune your production.
In real time. So the interconnectedness with the customer is part of what you build into your product. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, here's my third question. What are the trends that you see, Antonio, in your industry that currently are there or are going to be even more present under 4.0?
Well, for sure, I can tell you there is a lot going on now for the predictive maintenance. We all know that if you have an automated operation using automated machinery, you have to have preventive maintenance in place. But preventive maintenance is helping you, but is not giving you any feedback when something wrong is going to happen to your machinery, which ultimately is going to put you in a bad spot. So the predictive maintenance is something different. It's something that with artificial intelligence and with many sensors, it gives you a heads up before the issue is coming, so that you can intervene before, and you can really save a lot of issues. We talk about artificial intelligence used in the predictive maintenance, but this is also a very big thing. I mean, it's extremely powerful, the artificial intelligence used in many different situations, not only in terms of sensors and elaborating all the data, but also helping through the overall organization. So whatever you do that has a lot of data, that is always repetitive, you can always use artificial intelligence to help and to maximize the efficiency in all your processes.
So artificial AI and predictive maintenance and robots even interconnected. This is all part of the trend you're seeing and you think will only grow,
Absolutely.
correct? Well, mille grazie, Antonio. And now let's turn to banking. And Kay Geiger and I grew up in a world where we had to use letters of credit and so on, and it took time. And would you get paid? And all these issues. And maybe what we're talking about here now is real-time banking across borders. Who knows? So let's turn to
Thank
Jessica.
goodness.
Yeah, no kidding. It'll be great for business, won't it?
Yeah, that's good.
But let's let Jessica and Scott now talk about how it applies not just to banking, but to the customers of banking. So I'll turn it over to you two.
So while we get the slide deck up there, Jessica and I are going to spend a few minutes sharing how we see some Industry 4.0 concepts in banking through our roles as Treasury Management Officers at PNC Bank. So day to day, we help our business clients optimize their payments, both in the ways that they pay their vendors and suppliers, and also how they get paid by their customers. And certainly efficiency and automation have become very hot topics in the last few years in this arena. So something that Todd mentioned earlier, he said that at the heart of Industry 4.0 is this idea of building intelligent connections between systems. And I think that perfectly encapsulates some of the work that we're doing around some banking APIs. But before we get into specific banking APIs, maybe for those of you who are unfamiliar with what an API is an application program interface. It's a particular set of rules and specifications that software programs can follow to communicate with each other. An API serves as an interface between different software applications to facilitate their interaction, similar to the way a user interface facilitates our interaction with computers. So APIs make functions of an application available outside of that specific application. These software interfaces enable different systems and applications to talk and share data, boosting efficiency by transforming workflows. APIs provide the bridges that make it possible for any digital experience to connect to products and services, creating a more customized user experience. So maybe just quickly, an everyday example of APIs in action that all of us may be familiar with is thinking of a rideshare app that you may have used. So you may not realize it, but there's a number of APIs that are powering that rideshare app and your experience in it. So there's a notification API running to alert you when your ride is arriving. There's a Maps API connecting to Google Maps or Waze to help follow your ride along its route. There's a payments API that's powering and facilitating the final payment for that ride. And a number of other APIs like mileage and diagnostics powering that app. Similarly, there's a number of other apps that the rideshare API then shares its functionality with. So think about hotel search engine apps, restaurant reservations, airline booking, and some of the food delivery services, all leveraging the rideshare app through APIs. So flipping that, and in a banking context, what makes a good API? A good banking API makes it easy to move information between systems and deliver a better and more cohesive client experience. As a result, the use of APIs to enhance treasury management services is on the rise amongst financial institutions and fintechs. APIs connect systems and applications like your ERP system to your banking platform, boosting efficiency and transforming workflows and delivering more customized user experiences. So no more flipping between your ERP and the banking software, but rather having a customized experience within one native system, reducing learning curves for new employees so that they just have to learn the one system and not learn multiple systems. The APIs can create that interconnectivity and you can live and work in just that one system. And then giving access to faster transactions. So a number of APIs being developed around more immediate transactions. So listed here, just a couple use cases that we're seeing for APIs in the treasury management space. Some of them are in production now. You can take advantage of, and some in development and coming soon. An example would be the direct deposit of payroll. So leveraging the clearinghouse's RTP network, which is available 24/7 by 365. Corporate payroll providers can use PNC's API to provide real-time payments to instantly pay employees for time worked. There's also APIs for digital bill presentment and invoice payments. So using that same RTP network, a corporate can use the request for payment function of RTP and present an invoice for payment to their customer, and then receive a real-time payment back to expedite payment of an invoice. There's some good work being done around fraud mitigation leveraging APIs and our account verification service. So this is a really cool service. When you're setting up a new account for payment in your system, so boarding a new vendor, the fraud mitigation, the account verification service API can be used to validate that account information to make sure that that is good banking data and even who it belongs to, so you can assure that you're paying the right people. There's some APIs being developed to make it easier to deposit checks. We're familiar with maybe individuals, consumers being able to use your smartphone to take a check and deposit it at the time of receipt, but APIs to make that easier for businesses, particularly in some delivery applications, cash on delivery, and being able to use a mobile device or a tablet that is integrated with your system, order entry system, to be able to deposit that check at the time of receipt. And then finally, open banking. So APIs making it easier to share your information reporting, your transaction history and reporting, and store it locally, and so that it can be manipulated in your system, as opposed to logging into the banking portal to view all of your posted transactions. So some really great work around how APIs are being used, and some Industry 4.0 concepts certainly fit the bill there. So I will now pass our presentation over to Jessica Kennedy to share a little further.
Thanks, Scott. Good morning, everyone. And kind of building off of the interconnectedness of APIs, we're going to talk about a few other topics this morning from a banking perspective. And as you may notice, I think Scott and I are a little bit both treasury management nerds to an extent, because these things are pretty exciting to us. You know, treasury management continues to evolve, and I think it's really an exciting time to kind of look at the solutions that you're using from a banking perspective and see how things can be integrated and become more automatic and streamlined. So with that, I will go into our next topic here. So there is a lot going on this slide, I will admit that. But what this slide really goes over largely is our invoice automation. I'm sure a lot of people on this call have heard of the term invoice automation. Maybe you're using a solution to automate the application, the routing process, the approval, the payment of your invoices. And PNC is really proud that we have our own solution for this. So just wanted to take a minute to kind of walk through the process of what we see most invoice automation solutions doing, and specifically how PNC's solution works. So you'll see a couple different things on this slide here, but really the gist of the solution is that your invoices would be captured for you. So whether they're mailed invoices, emailed invoices, electronic invoices, they would all be captured by an invoice automation provider. And those invoices would data would be captured on them, they would be scanned, and they would be routed throughout your organization from a determined workflow for coding and approval. So basically what that's eliminating is a lot of manual processes, touching a lot of paper, the paper kind of moving from one person to the next. So then at that point, once those invoices have been coded and approved, you would get to the point where you would want to issue your payment. So in this situation, you'll see the little computer screen there that says integrated payables. So that's PNC's term for essentially a consolidated payment mechanism where you would tell the institution what you want to pay and how. So, you know, I want to pay this via check, I want to pay this via card, I want to pay this via ACH, etc. Also being able to integrate your ARP into that transmission as well. And then what happens is the financial institution would issue those payments in those predetermined methods. So, you know, a lot of companies that we talk to are really trying to minimize or even eliminate, you know, paper checks, for example. But we do realize that that's difficult to do in some situations, and there's still going to be the need for some paper checks. So one of the cool things about this is that you can still issue those paper checks, but you don't have to be doing that in-house. So that is something that can be outsourced and done on your behalf, and can be done by employees no matter where they are located. So this has become really a hot topic over the past year, with so many companies having employees working remotely, you know, working in different locations from each other. This interconnectedness allows the whole invoice, receipt, approval, and payment function to continue seamlessly, regardless of where those people are. So definitely something that is exciting for us, and I hope that, you know, this sparks your interest as well. Building off of that a little bit, and also kind of changing gears, wanted to talk about something that we felt specifically might be applicable to this audience because of the international application. So one of the newer electronic payment methods that is out there is called international low value payments. And what this is essentially cross-border ACH. So what's really nice about this, well, there's a couple of big benefits. But one of the big things is that you can send up to 50,000 USD equivalent electronically to these certain countries. And there's a couple things that make it more attractive than, say, a wire. So one of those things is going to be cost. International low value payments, the cost is closer to an ACH payment than it is to a wire payment. So you would certainly be saving on that cost. Visibility is great as well. You have visibility into exchange rates with the final exchange rate acknowledged before you process that. And then another thing is that you would be able to send that payment and not have to wonder if there's going to be an intermediary fee lifted off the total amount that is being received by the recipient. So a lot of great benefits to this payment method. You will see on this slide that it's specifically for Canada, the UK, and European Union countries, which does cover quite a few countries, and we think that it's a great benefit that it can be sent in both US dollars in some situations, and then in the currency of the country that it's going to as well. So definitely an exciting option to be able to send an international low value payment instead of a wire, or maybe just in a different situation as a wire. And there's a couple different ways that this can be done if we think back to an interconnectedness perspective. So you'll see on the right here that you're able to send that free form, so meaning you can just type in the information on a one-off basis. Template, so there could be templates that are saved within the system. Those templates could have been, entered into the system itself, or maybe come directly from your ERP system, and then also batch as well. So something that's flexible for your needs, and we think is an exciting option to be able to send some of these smaller payments in a more efficient way. So with that, I want to definitely thank everyone for listening to us this morning, and I will pass it back to Joe.
Let me ask both of you. Ray Tia had a question about the
Sure.
definition of API, and how does that correlate with RPA? Scott or Jessica, do you want to take a stab at that one?
Sure, Ray. Yeah, I'm not sure if in the banking application right now there's a robotics kind of correlation, more adding efficiency and kind of optimizing processes, but I don't think there's a specific correlation to robotics process automation at this point.
Okay, it's just kind of the banking side of a common problem, a better way to say it. And the ILV that you mentioned, Jessica, is that available today or is that coming?
It is available today. It's something that that companies that bank with PNC have been using. We do know that a lot of financial institutions are part of this as well, but something that each company would want to check with their financial institution to see where they are on this.
Right, and just another question, you mentioned European Union countries. How about those that don't use the euro? Would it apply to them as well, or just euro-based countries?
So good question. So it would be those that are in euro, or with the UK here in euro or pound sterling. So if it is not in euro, at this point, it would not be an option, but could be something down the line.
So more currency-based, and it headed to Asia someday in yen and other things, but not yet.
Yeah, we hope so.
Bottom line? Yeah, great.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you. Great tour around the banking industry. And now we're going to turn to
Thanks, Joe.
Gonzalo. And thank you so much, Jessica and Scott, and talk about Eacc. So Gonzalo, you're unmuted. That's great. And Eacc is a very well-known, well-established company in Europe, but you're like a lot of the members of the European Chamber. You're pretty new to the US. You're finding easy to get here, harder to succeed and compete, isn't it? But let me ask you to start by just explaining a little bit about what is SICA and what are the U.S. plans?
Okay, great. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So SICA is a multinational family-owned Spanish company providing sustainable solutions in containerboard manufacturing and packaging, as well as environmental services to reach our customers' circular economy targets, maximizing the performance of the available resources. In 2018, we celebrated our 75-year anniversary. Since our origins were focused on putting innovation at the core of our operations, being one of the first, for example, to use cogeneration back in 1987, introducing lightweight performance papers in 2000, starting a waste-to-energy plant in 2011, developing a low-density polypropylene recycling plant in 2015, and the launch in 2019 of our new lightweight coated papers in the Infinited brand. SICA has 4 different business units. Natur provides environmental services focused on reducing and maximizing the value of waste flows at the most efficient cost in order to reach the zero waste target, prioritizing introduction of recycling products as raw materials in the production process. Then we have paper, a state-of-the-art technology for very homogeneous high-performance papers and advanced packagings in terms of design and performance. Then pack, we lead initiatives in the main markets and we care about our customers' products. Therefore, our teams develop end-to-end solutions to add value to their packaging. The plant, for example, that we are building in Hamilton, Ohio, belongs to this business unit. And then last but not least, flexible packaging for all the needs in a dynamic environment that offers maximum value for our clients' products. Now, if we concentrate in what we want to do here in the US, so our goal is to build, right now, we are in the site works processes, making the foundations and creating the slab that on top of that will be built the plant. So we want to build here in Hamilton, Ohio, our first box plant belonging to the pack business unit. We want to have this plant up and running middle of October of this year. And as you can imagine, after the huge effort that we are putting into this, we don't want to just concentrate on one plant. So if this project goes well, we want to keep growing our operations in the US.
Well, let me ask you this, Gonzalo, gracias, and welcome to the area. We look forward to the ribbon cutting soon. But here's a comment I know you've made before. We need computers to deal with small everyday problems, but we need people to work on improvements. They go together, people and computers. And so digitization isn't really a means to replace people, it's a tool to empower them. But let me challenge you. Each industrial revolution has certainly had a dark side, hasn't it? So is this really true? Do you really feel that's the case? And can you give us examples that might actually be the case?
Yeah, absolutely. So in our machines, we mainly have in our plants corrugators and converting machines that produce a sheet of paper and boxes based on paper reels. We have many automatic quality inspections and predictive maintenance systems that on base of hundreds of different sensors provide value information to the drivers of the machines. But at the end, is the people behind those machines, the ones that take the final decisions, better decisions, because they have relevant information to help them. For example, in the Procore system in one of our corrugators, reads that the current through some motors goes above some certain levels, it will generate a message to alert the responsible department. This situation could mean, for example, that the bearings on a roll is getting to the end of their life cycle. With this information, the engineering department can schedule an intervention focused just on that part of the machine, reducing the downtime and maximizing the ability of the asset.
Well, part of this, though, then the people have to use new tools that may not be they're used to, and so, you know, sometimes people feel not empowered but overwhelmed by all these new things that one has to do. I mean, just yesterday, my health provider said, "Oh, now sign up for your appointment to get the vaccine," and you go to the website and there's no I can't figure out how to do it. You know what I mean? So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so for us, we think it's not going to be very difficult because at the end, the automatic systems that we are providing and the closed loop regulations make their lives easier. So you just need to combine one person, the others will follow. It's a question of time. If you see that others are using clever tools and that they are getting better and more sustainable results, you want to use the same similar tools as the people having the best results.
Good point. Well, most of what we've talked about so far with you, Gonzalo, is dealt with the kind of the production within the factory, within the company. But is what we're talking about really have even a greater connection maybe with suppliers and distributors and customers through these same things that you're talking about?
Absolutely. So for 10 years, analog systems have practically disappeared from our factories, being replaced by digital systems, allowing us to export hundreds of thousands of data from our distributed control system. This data is then analyzed by the experts of our suppliers, for example, helping us repair some incidents remotely. In some cases, this data is converted into big data systems that are supported in the cloud infrastructure of our suppliers. This new paradigm is forcing us as well to focus created efforts and resources on cybersecurity to avoid being vulnerable, because we are opening up our factories to the outside, to the internet, to the cloud-based computing. That means that we have to protect ourselves better. We are always exploring and applying new technologies to give our employees more powerful tools. An example of this, for example, is the implementation of maintenance routes using tablets that detect RFID chips installed in our equipment, which allow us to download preventive maintenance instructions to be done in each part of the machine, reporting incidents instantly. We have also installed sensors that capture vibrations and send them back to the system that predicts the evolution based on the trend of the data received, identifying problems before the breakdown actually occurs.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, you've made clear that Eacc has really kind of in its DNA the whole innovation. That innovation is part of what the company really is. I think you've made that clear. But where were you headed? Where is the company headed, and where are we all headed in a way in research and development and AI and interconnectivity and the rest of the things? What are the things we should be looking for in each of us in our own business, working on ourselves? What do you think?
Okay, so to start with this, I will give an example of one of the most innovative projects that we are doing. We have launched. We have developed together with paper machine supplier. It's a project to optimize the main raw materials, paper for recycling. Through big data and new sensors, we have created a system that takes full advantage of the potential of paper to recycle, reducing waste and energy consumption. It also predicts the characteristics of the paper before it is manufactured. The system is already in production in one of our paper mills, and we have started with the work to replicate it in another paper mill. So the trend we see here, as we were talking before, is toward digitalization to gain better product quality, reduce lead times, and increase flexibility to exceed our customers' expectations.
Let me ask you one last question, Gonzalo, and then we'll turn it back to Todd, and we'll get into breakout rooms, and we'll all participate very directly in those breakout rooms. And then we'll come back for Q&A and wind up the session this morning. Here's the question. You've spent a career in Europe, and now you're very much here in the United States. The US and Europe, are they on the same, you see the same trends? Do you see different trends? Do you see receptivity to these ideas equally in both? Or is one ahead of the other? You know, help us understand that.
Okay. In our sector, I think the biggest players, they are European companies providing the specific machines that we need from Finland, from France, from Switzerland, from Italy. And these companies, all of them, they are making great efforts towards digitalization and remote connections and cloud-based computing. I think in the US, I have seen the same trends, honestly speaking. But I think in our sector right now, they're a little bit one step behind of what we can see in Europe in our sector. But I think that the companies and the industry in the US is moving forward very quick and is catching up. I will say that in the next some years, 2 years, 3 years, they will be catching up to what we can see in Europe regarding this kind of technology.
So pretty good sharing, interconnectedness, even here in learning from between the two, Europe and the United States. Yeah,
absolutely.
Muchas gracias. Well, Todd, let me turn it back to you. Thank you to all our presenters.
Perfect, Joe. Thank you so much. Gonzalo, there was a quick question that came in for you, and I think this was in the announcement when you did your groundbreaking there. How many employees are you going to end up with there eventually in Hamilton?
So in the first 3 years, we expect to have around 75 people employed. And then by the end, when the plant will ramp up and will be full capacity, we expect to have around 130.
That's great. That's great. One of the things that I love about this job is the ability to just watch this community grow and new jobs being created. And I think those are great opportunities. So thanks for that update. I appreciate it. And we're really glad to have you both in this event and in our region. You're a great addition.
Thank you.
So now, before we go to Q&A, we're going to put you in breakout rooms for about 15 minutes. We're a little ahead of schedule. If we finish early, I'm sure nobody's going to complain. This is the first time that we've tried using these breakout rooms before. So again, if we have any technical difficulties, I ask your patience. But this will be your opportunity to react to some of the ideas that you've heard, offer your own thoughts, experiences, and perhaps most importantly, make some new contacts. Now, in these breakout sessions, we've assigned them with some randomness and some thinking to it. In the first part of the breakout session, just make a quick round of introductions, maybe just your name, your current role in your organization. And then, of course, you can chat whatever you want to talk about. If you need a prompt, let me offer a suggestion. The question might be, what are 2 systems within or outside your organization that you would like to see intelligently connected? Or as I said, you can chat about whatever you would like. I'll let you know when there are, or you'll see a timer. It'll appear when there's about 2 minutes left in the breakout rooms, and then you will automatically be brought here back for the Q&A session. And at that point, I'll also ask if anybody wants to provide a quick readout from your breakout session. So as I said, what I'd ask you to do now is unmute your microphones. You can turn on your cameras. And now we're going to assign everybody to your rooms, and we'll see you back here in about 15 minutes. Good. Just a reminder, if you have questions, please feel free to type them into the Q&A box, or not the Q&A, sorry. I'm still back in Zoom webinar mode, in the chat box. Let us know if you've got some questions, but glad to see everybody back. And just in Zoom, you've got that reaction button. at the bottom of your screen. If you click on the reactions, and just if you enjoyed the breakout rooms, give me a reaction using that reaction button. I see some good comments and so forth. I don't think there's one to be a sad face, so that's a good thing too. It's a safe question. So now let's do some questions and answers. And again, we got about 20 minutes left. If we finish early, I'm sure nobody's going to complain. But if you've got some questions, let me know. Put them in the chat box. And Joe, I think you had pre-positioned a couple of questions.
Well, thank you, Todd. And really, we had a great breakout room. Well, here's my question for each of our 4 panelists. And so we'll start with Arnaldo. And what's the dark side of Industry 4.0? What are the big risks here? Who's going to get left behind? Are people going to lose their jobs? Are people going to say, boy, this is the consumer doesn't appreciate all the changes and they can't get through to the new system that the company thinks is just brilliant and they roll it. What is the dark side to Industry 4.0? What should we worry about? That's my big question for each of our panelists. Arnaldo, what do you think?
Antonio?
Oh, Antonio, excuse me.
All right.
I apologize.
Yeah, no problem.
Antonio.
So this is
Grazie.
This is a very good question. And as a matter of fact, we talk about that during our breakout session. I see people are concerned about AI, which honestly, I do not feel the same concern. I think that I do really believe that AI will bring benefits, and the quality of life and the level of skills of our employees will only grow. But the dark side I see, I mean, the bigger, probably one of the big risks I can foresee is that people now, companies now, they just want to try to catch up and try to invest in technology, in robotics, in solutions, just for the matter of doing that. And they go with the wrong technology. So I think it is absolutely important right now to try to understand what is your need and which solutions are available, because mostly of the time we see clients going to invest tons of money and time on solutions that are not really working well for their operation. So this is my point of view.
That's a really good one. Scott, what about you? From your perspective, what can go wrong? That's kind of the question.
Yeah, so I was in the same breakout as Antonio, and we did talk about it a little bit. And I think the fear is, that some of this will replace workers. But as we discussed, it's really more about retraining. So the risk is that we don't get people. The automation helps, and it automates some manual processes, but typically those are less skilled. And I think the risk is that we have to make sure that we mitigate and we don't leave people behind and we're able to redeploy them, to other functions if some level of automation makes their current role, more efficient and frees up time. I think it's just that training aspect and making sure they're able to be redeployed in other more meaningful ways.
Good point. Jessica, what your thought?
Yeah, so a couple other things in addition to what Antonio and Scott have mentioned, which I was thinking of, repurposing those employees with meaningful tasks. Kind of building off of what Antonio was talking about it being important on deciding on the right things to implement. I think another potential downfall is being able to allocate the time and resources to implement it and to implement whatever it is correctly from the get-go. We see in banking that sometimes people are a little bit nervous to make a leap because they are nervous about the time and the resources that it's going to take to, get that new product or that new solution completely up and running. But on the flip side, I think that it's really important just to keep in mind that, it's an investment at the beginning, but it's something that would continue to pay off, afterwards.
Very good. Gonzalo, what would you point to as the thing to worry about here?
Okay, so I think I agree with Scott. I think one of the most difficult things that we have to think about is trying to avoid the gap between different countries, different societies, in order to be able to advance all of us on the same level. The training, I think training is a big part of that, trying to avoid this gap that we might have in some years if the different countries of different societies doesn't invest enough on the training of the workforce. So I think that is one of the biggest challenges that we have for the future. And Antonio was saying that he's not aware or afraid of the AE. I'm not really sure about that. Let's see how the trend and the direction that this takes. But there is a lot of resources being invested right now. A lot of companies doing different or following different lines of investigation. So I will be a little bit aware of that. I think we have to wait some years to see the trend.
And Christopher Hubbard asked a related question. What are the most important skills that then you'll be looking for to retrain current employees or in new employees? What are the key skills in this 4.0 world?
Yeah, and let me just add.
Want to tackle that?
Well, let me just add, the reason Christopher asked that, of course, is he's at Sinclair College, and he's the one who's going to be training the students to take those jobs. So give him good advice. What does he need to train your future employees to be able to do? Scott, Jessica, why don't you start with that?
I'll pipe up. So, I mean, honestly, I know this might sound cliche, but I think it's just the willingness and the ability to learn. You know, a lot of things can be taught, and I think that the most important thing is to have somebody who's agile and, you know, willing to learn what's going to carry them throughout the future.
Antonio, what about you?
Well, I can tell in our organization we are growing so fast, and our world is changing so fast that one of the key factors is really the flexibility. So being able to be flexible, to understand that what you're doing today maybe can change. So you need to change yourself. You have to change the way of working. In terms of the operators, we are really looking at operators that have at least mechanical skills, electrical skills, so skills that are able to, you know, we need to have people that are able to run really expensive machineries and not, you know, just doing a small assembly operation. And this is something that is going to be always more and more present in the other areas.
I note that we also have Oksana Prokharova from University of Cincinnati, so I'm sure she's listening also in terms of what kind of training is required.
Yeah, thank you, Todd. Absolutely. And the University of Cincinnati actually already working on and created a number of programs that will prepare workforce. And we're working in collaboration with international partners from Spain and France and Germany and England on Industry 4.0 and Industry 5.0. So not only cyber physical systems, but also on human intellect and collaboration with artificial intelligence. So, you know, what we're looking at is close collaboration with industry on research and education, and not only creating the degree programs, but also working on retraining current employees, including management level. So we're looking at micro-credentials and certification programs that will allow, I saw the question from Ray also, like what is preventing that leap into adaptation of Industry 4.0? And I think we discussed it in our breakout room. It's the key skill set, not only for new incoming engineers and factory floor employees, but it's also ability to interpret the data that you receive from all your systems for middle level management and top level management. And that is important because, you know, a lot of us got education 20, 30 years ago when that was not a thing. And the other issue is under investment into the systems itself, and someone needs to produce them. So we need to prepare engineers that will be able to create the system, software engineers and computer engineers and, you know, people that work on ethics of artificial intelligence. So there is quite a big chunk of knowledge and training that is involved, and it's not just College of Engineering. We work with College of Medicine and neuroscience and fuzzy logic and pharmacy and design, and as I mentioned, very close collaboration with our industrial partners from Procter & Gamble to Kroger to Siemens and Festo, and so all kind of companies.
We are very proud of our partnerships with our educational friends, both at the technical level as well as the university level. Joe, did you want to follow up with that question from Ray? Or Ray, did you want to put that question out about about what's preventing these issues? What's preventing progress?
Yeah. Can I add something to the question about the skill sets?
Floor is yours.
So I think Sana just mentioned some of them, but I think the three areas, or I would say as far as skill sets, is one is really defining what you want systems to do. I think, requirements definition, similar to the work we just saw from PNC, unless somebody's the business case to say, okay, what I need to do is I need to, reduce the number of invoices we put into the system. So one is defining requirements. Another one is the ability to adapt, not necessarily flexible, but adapt in the sense that we had assumptions, the assumptions changed. How do we quickly adjust and make decisions and adapt consistently? And I think the third one is really collaboration. If we're really connecting systems together, you need to be able to collaborate with people who think differently. So the ability to communicate and collaborate with people who, because we're talking about interconnectivity. So you've got, completely different capabilities, different organizations, different skill sets, different talents, different languages, different time zones. So that ability to do that. As far as the question on the standards is technically, I remember RFID, other elements that were really struggling and getting adoption. What would be kind of from a technical perspective is the standard that's missing? Like what's missing for mid-sized companies to make this a really good business case? I mean, accounting and the banking piece of it has tons of standards. So that's good. We have money, we have currency, we have, ACH, we have router numbers. Where is it missing in the other areas of application that for the majority of, it's not P&G, it's not, you used to say General Motors, but they're a mid-sized company now. But what would be the standard that's missing that would really bring it to faster adoption?
Somebody has mentioned in the chat box, universal machine data output. I'm not entirely sure what that would look like. Antonio or Gonzalo, I mean, you guys are more focused on the mechanical part of this.
232 levels, is that whoever put that in there? Kevin?
So it would be kind of similar like the OPC UA and the data that's being output from the controllers of the machines. There's one that's being looked at right now that they're testing called the Universal Machine Technology Interface, or UMATI. So the main thing, there's so many different brands of machines that have their own language and data output that once they try to, input it into an ERP or MES system, there's a lot of translation that needs to be done. So trying to get more of a standard similar to OPC UA to where it's all standardized and then it can be moved, more agilely and nimbly between systems.
Are there a couple of different, are there a couple of different platforms that are being kind of, they're fighting for who becomes the standard right now?
OPC UA has been a pretty basic standard for a while now, I know, but with newer machines coming out, there's new data points and stuff like that, and connection points that with security, obviously that's always top of mind for people, making sure that their machines can't get hacked to where, they could have downtime or anything like that on the shop floor, or even just losing whatever files that they may have when it comes to design and proprietary information. So UMATI is they're using technology like OPC UA and then also talking with the machine builders to see what makes sense for everybody. And if it's a translation that they need to put in or something along those lines. But that's kind of what we see in our sector of metal fabricators and issues that they have with collecting the right data.
For those of you who don't know, Kevin is Kevin's with another Spanish company up in Mason, Ohio, Landtech, and a company that we'd love to have join the EACC.
I've got
I'm
it
always
written in my
selling.
notes.
Always be selling. Always be selling.
Always be selling.
Gonzalo, Antonio, does some of those things make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think this is a very good one. Having the possibility of connecting all the machineries in a more, common protocol is definitely a very good one. Many times, every company is left alone and itself to try to figure out a way of getting these out in a more efficient way. So yes, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, me too. But this is a little bit transparent for us because we produce paper products, and paper products doesn't connect very well with other products, until now. So this type of standards, connection standards, is more related to our machine suppliers, and that's a little bit transparent for us. We don't have this information, so that I think so for sure the different suppliers are working on some kind of a standard to data interfaces. But for us at this point, is a transparent topic.
Yeah, and Gonzalo, I mean, one of our member companies up in Dayton is actually making sort of smart labels that would go on products to keep them cold, make sure that they stay cold or stay at the right temperature and so forth. So even there, I think you're starting to see that that technology develop pretty quickly. So
yes, we are doing some projects with RFID. In some of our plants in Europe, so that when the boxes with these labels, they go through a certain point, the invoices are generated automatically, and then the invoice for the truck is automatically generated. So yes, we're doing some projects on that topic as well. Yes,
just amazing. We got about 9 minutes left before we all turn into pumpkins. And as I said, I want to make sure we have a little bit of time just to do that poll at the end. Joe, if you don't mind, I'm just going to go ahead and ask one last question because I think it's going to lead to an interesting discussion. Everybody hears about blockchain. We hear about blockchain in the context of Bitcoin and Ethereum and all these other digital currencies and so forth. We're also starting to hear more about blockchain when it comes to just sort of data privacy, data security, and in the realm of manufacturing and so forth. Ray has asked the question, how are others on the call? I mean, obviously, I'm interested to hear from our presenters as well, but how are others on the call using blockchain or planning to use blockchain in their operations to achieve a practical business objective? And I mean, Gonzalo or Antonio, if you want to start with that. I'm just looking at some of the other folks on the line. Go ahead, Gonzalo.
Well, we don't have a big experience on that topic yet, so we are not exploring that yet. I think the technology will be very useful for organizations that are distributed in different geographical areas and with different business units, just to increase the safety and the security of the transactions. But at this moment, I am not aware of any initiative inside SAICA to move forward blockchain technology.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the others on the line. Yeah, go ahead.
This is Christine Smith over at RSM, and we have developed a clear-through technology that it's an ERP-based blockchain traceability solution. It was designed for food manufacturers to be able to do traceability for recalls, and there's applications then in the automobile industry for warranty recalls. So that's one of the areas RSM has a blockchain practice that's focused on developing these technology solutions really geared for mid-sized organizations. So it's the suppliers to Walmart, the suppliers to a GM and a Ford.
Sure.
Is some of the solutions that we've been doing.
So Christine, on that traceability from the food, so you're basically, it's connected to their ERP system where they can track the source of the ingredients, the farm.
Yep.
And so there's case studies where people are using it for mid-sized companies as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it would have to be applicable for family farms and so forth. I also see on the line, I'm going to put him on the spot, Patrick Loneman at Cincinnati Children's. I know that's not your business field, but Patrick, I'm sure there must be some applications for this in again with data privacy and so forth in the medical field.
Yeah, with data privacy, I know they do a lot of monitoring of how our clinicians utilize the Epic, the electronic health records platform that we have at the hospital, like how people are utilizing it and if they're breaking any potential HIPAA rules, things of that nature. So yeah, there's a lot of applicability on the healthcare space as far as data privacy, for sure.
Any other thoughts on that topic? Again, I mean, Scott, I don't want to cut you off in terms of addressing it in the banking sector, but again, that seems to be the more ubiquitous and well understood one. I mean, are there aspects of this that we should be aware, and particularly to Ray's point about where it fits in sort of the mid-size businesses?
You know, there's not a lot of I think ubiquity or penetration with blockchain yet amongst our customers, but you know, perhaps some of the cases even is just kind of around smart contracts and signing. So I think that may be a banking application. You know, we see with documentations and contracts. So I see Christine nodding her head in agreement. But I think that may be one of the first places we kind of see it manifest itself.
Todd, real briefly, we have a whole blockchain practice now. And,
Oh,
you know,
of course, yeah.
Yes, but there's a dark side. Just a tragic comic example. You probably read about the fellow who got some early Bitcoin worth about $220 million now, but he can't remember the password he was given. And in a distributed ledger, you can't call PNC and say, I forgot my password. Good luck to him.
Was it there another story about somebody who had a bunch of blockchain stored on like a hard disk and ended up throwing it away, and now is offering the community, you know, half of the value of the blockchain of the Bitcoin on the hard drive to help them, you know, dig up the landfill to find it? It's insane.
I think that guy, I think he has 2 more passwords to use, otherwise it's gone, right, Joe?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to bring us to the end. We're right at we're coming up on our closing time, and we're very proud of our reputation of both starting and finishing our events on time. So I appreciate you. Obviously, we could go on with this discussion, and there's so many other topics that we could address with this. Indeed, we may turn this into an ongoing series, so we'll see where we go. But that concludes today's seminar on Industry 4.0. It's not just about industry. I want to say thanks again. Very deep thanks to our sponsor, PNC Bank, to our moderator, Joe Daner, and of course, to our presenters, Antonio Pagano from Modular, Scott Erickson, and Jessica Kennedy of PNC Bank, and Gonzalo Arguelles of Eacc. Most importantly, thanks to all of you for joining this event, and I would ask you to please feel free to send me your thoughts and your feedback. Indeed, I'm going to launch right now while I say my final remarks, a quick poll, 2 questions, just to let us know if you agree with the statements that you found the information shared by the presenters found during the event useful and interesting, or if you found the breakout portion of the event interesting and useful. The EACC is connector. That's our job. That's our role. And EACC members who attend our webinars and our events can connect with the other attendees just like we would do during live events. So if you are an EACC member and you want to follow up with someone that you met in a breakout session and didn't get their contact information, reach out to me and I'll be happy to help with those connections. Finally, I just want to say I encourage you to join us for an EACC network webinar that we have scheduled next week, the 27th of January. This will be a discussion with Stavros Lambrinidis, who is the EU ambassador to the United States, and as far as I know, not connected to the Lambrinidis family of Skyline Chili fame. Very nice guy, by the way. He is going to be speaking on the future of the transatlantic relationship, and you can look for the event calendar on our EACC website, www.europe-cincinnati.com, for information on that event and to register. So again, thanks for participating in the poll. I appreciate your responses. I thank you for joining us, and I wish everyone a very good day.